Have you ever wondered why monarchy seems to withstand the test of time, even in the face of revolutions and social changes? Behind the crowns and rituals lies something deeper, an obsession that transcends the physical and delves into the spiritual. Today, we will explore a mystery spanning centuries, one that involves the preservation of something kings consider sacred, the purity of royal blood. Are these pacts and traditions merely superstitions, or are there hidden forces ensuring the eternity of royalty? Welcome to another night where mysteries never sleep. I am Midnight, and this is 7 Nights. Before we dive into this story filled with chilling revelations, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This helps us continue uncovering the most hidden secrets for you. Ready to discover what lurks in the shadows? The obsession with the purity of royal blood. Since the dawn of monarchy, the idea of blue blood has been more than a figurative concept. The term, symbolizing the distinction of nobles from common people, carries profound implications about royalty's obsession with preserving their lineage. The British monarchy, in particular, has taken this belief to the extreme, with strict practices of arranged marriages to avoid the contamination of royal blood by common elements. For scholars of the occult, this tradition is not merely political but spiritual. Elizabeth II, like many of her predecessors, upheld the tradition of marrying within close circles. Her husband, Prince Philip, was also her distant cousin, a direct descendant of Queen Victoria. This practice, which may seem outdated by modern standards, reflects a deliberate effort to preserve something that, for royalty, is more valuable than material wealth: the purity of their lineage. According to theorists, this purity is linked to mystical powers that can only be transmitted through an untainted bloodline. Historical records show that this obsession with lineage was not limited to England. Throughout Europe, royal houses practiced consanguineous marriages, often resulting in genetic disorders. However, what modern science sees as a biological risk, mystery theorists view as a spiritual necessity. Some believe that royal blood possesses mystical properties that ensure a connection between monarchs and forces beyond the earthly realm. Among the Windsors, the preservation of pure blood became almost a religious obsession. They are said to be heirs to a secret tradition that dates back to eras when monarchy not only ruled, but was seen as a channel between heaven and earth. The idea of the divine right of kings, so central to European history, is more than a political justification. It is a belief in the supernatural bond carried by royal blood. This belief in the uniqueness of royal blood is evident even in the rituals performed by the monarchy. Coronation, for instance, involves the anointing of the monarch with sacred oil, a practice symbolizing the sanctity of the lineage. These rituals are, in the eyes of many theorists, a way to spiritually reinforce the monarch's connection to their mystical origins. The oil, like the blood, is thought to be a vehicle for divine energies. Although traditions have evolved over time, the winds of modernity have not completely extinguished this obsession. Recent marriages, such as William and Kate's, were carefully analyzed to ensure the connection to tradition was preserved. The inclusion of commoners in the royal family, while seemingly progressive, still follows strict rules. This demonstrates that even with the appearance of modernity, preserving the spiritual legacy of the bloodline remains a priority for the monarchy. Ultimately, the idea of purity of royal blood is more than a matter of tradition or aristocratic pride. It reflects a belief system that sees the royal lineage as a crucial link for maintaining power, authority, and spiritual connection. This belief has shaped not only the personal choices of royalty, but also the very structure of their lives and reigns. The cult of royal blood. According to conspiracy theories, the cult of royal blood has its roots in medieval times, when Europe was ruled by kings who presented themselves as chosen by God. During this period, the legitimacy of monarchs came not only from their military strength or wealth, but also from their spiritual connection. Lost documents, such as the famous Book of Blood, describe obscure rituals conducted by royal families to ensure their lineage remained blessed by divine forces. The Middle Ages were a period of intense superstitions and mystical beliefs. This was the peak of the anything-goes mysticism era. People swore that royal blood was the glue that united heaven and earth. An exaggeration? Perhaps, but look at the obsession it created. Kings and queens were seen as intermediaries between the divine and the mortal, and royal blood was considered a sacred element. This perception led to the rise of secret orders dedicated to protecting the purity of royal blood. One such order, called the Guardians of the Blood, reportedly operated behind the scenes, performing rituals that included sacrifices and offerings. These rituals aimed to strengthen the spiritual connection between monarchs and the forces that granted them power. It was believed that young blood, especially that of pure children, contained vital energy capable of fortifying this connection. These ceremonies, conducted in absolute secrecy, were deemed indispensable for the continuity of the reign. Manuscripts from the time describe practices that included chants in ancient languages and the use of arcane symbols. The role of the Catholic Church in this scenario is ambiguous. On one hand, the Church supported monarchs as divine representatives on earth. On the other, records of priests disappearing after denouncing heretical practices in royal courts raise suspicions. There is evidence that some of these occult practices were tolerated or even concealed by the Church, which prioritized the stability of kingdoms. Over the centuries, the guardians of the blood disappeared from historical records, but their influence can still be perceived today. Some believe the order never ceased to exist, merely changing its mode of operation. Its members, now hidden in positions of trust, would be responsible for keeping alive the spiritual practices connecting the monarchy to its mystical heritage. For the Windsors, this tradition may have been passed down as a family secret, protected and reinforced over generations. The British monarchy's continuity amid so many historical changes would be, for theorists, proof that these practices are still being carried out. While the methods may have been modernized, the goal remains the same: to preserve the spiritual and political power of the lineage. The Middle Ages may seem like a distant past, but their influences still echo in the traditions of modern royalty. The cult of royal blood, if it truly existed, shaped not only the destiny of royal families, but also the perception of power as something that transcends the physical and enters the realm of the spiritual. The hidden symbols of the British monarchy. The symbols associated with the British monarchy are rich in historical meaning, but many also have esoteric interpretations that intrigue students of the occult. The royal family's coat of arms, for instance, contains elements that some believe are more than mere heraldic representations. Every detail, from the chained unicorn to the crowned lion, is analyzed as a potential marker of spiritual power and connection to higher forces. The unicorn, traditionally associated with purity and spirituality, appears chained on the coat of arms. To theorists, this suggests the subjugation of a divine or mystical force under the monarchy's control. This interpretation reflects the idea that the royal family possesses power beyond the physical, capable of channeling supernatural energies to sustain their reign. The chained unicorn symbolizes this domination over spiritual forces that elude human comprehension. Another crucial element is the crowned lion, which represents authority and strength. More than a symbol of leadership, the lion is associated in certain esoteric traditions with the black sun, an occult concept rooted in ancient European beliefs about absolute power. The crowned lion thus represents the monarchy as a source of divine authority, reinforcing its legitimacy through a symbolic connection with cosmic forces. The items used in coronations are also surrounded by mystery. The imperial crown, adorned with precious jewels, is not just a symbol of royalty, but also a possible channeler of spiritual energies. The scepter and sword used during the ceremony are equally intriguing. They represent not only earthly power, but also the monarch's connection with the divine. The sacred oil used in the anointing is another element whose exact composition is kept secret, fueling theories that it might contain mystical substances. The architecture of locations associated with the monarchy is also a target of speculation. St. George's Chapel, located in Windsor, is a clear example of this. Its stained glass windows contain patterns that some interpret as references to occultism, such as pentagrams and other geometric symbols associated with esoteric practices. The presence of statues of mythical creatures in strategic points of the chapel reinforces the idea that these places are not just religious spaces, but also chambers of spiritual power. These symbols are not exclusive to the British monarchy. Many European royal families share similar elements in their heraldry, suggesting a common tradition of using imagery with hidden meanings. For theorists, this is further evidence that monarchy operates not only in the political sphere, but also in the spiritual realm, connecting to a global network of power that transcends borders. Although the official interpretation of the symbols is always historical or artistic, the consistency with which they appear in mystical contexts raises suspicions. They are more than representations of monarchical authority. They are markers of an ancient tradition that views royalty not just as rulers, but also as guardians of a spiritual secret that spans centuries. Secrets in Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is one of the most iconic buildings in the world, associated with the power and tradition of the British monarchy. However, its fame also attracts dark stories describing the site as the stage for secret rituals performed by the royal family. These accounts come from former employees, visitors, and even outside observers who claim to have witnessed or heard of unusual activities within the palace walls. One of the most well-known stories involves a butler who worked at the palace during the 1970s. Have you noticed how butlers always know more than they should? If even he felt something was amiss, imagine what we have no idea about. He described nights when parts of the building were strangely busy, even after rest hours. Sounds of chanting in unknown languages, muffled screams, and mysterious shadows were frequently reported by him and other staff. Despite his discretion, the butler was fired after sharing his experiences with colleagues, and his whereabouts remain unknown. St. George's Chapel, located in Windsor, is also frequently mentioned in these accounts. Employees reported that the chapel has restricted areas, off-limits to most workers, and that on certain nights mysterious sounds echo within its walls. Witnesses described movements in the chapel during private royal family events, with hooded figures entering and leaving at unusual hours. These details fuel theories that the chapel is used for occult ceremonies. Another intriguing case involves nighttime deliveries to the palace. Truck drivers claim to transport sealed boxes with explicit orders not to ask questions. One driver mentioned a metallic smell coming from inside the boxes, which made him associate the contents with blood. These accounts, though never substantiated, reinforce the idea that specific objects or substances are brought to the palace for unknown purposes. Visitors who attended public events at the palace also reported strange sensations in certain corridors and rooms. Some mentioned an oppressive energy in specific areas, as if the environment were charged with something invisible. While these experiences could easily be dismissed as personal impressions, their frequency is notable and difficult to ignore. The rituals described in the accounts generally involve ideas of sacrifices or spiritual connections. Although the royal family has never directly addressed these accusations, the silence around the topic only increases the fascination of those who believe in these stories. For theorists, the lack of transparency is further proof that something truly happens behind the palace's closed doors. Even without concrete evidence, the reports persist, creating a disturbing image of what might happen away from public eyes. For many, Buckingham Palace is not just the residence of the monarchy, but also the epicenter of a mystery that continues to intrigue the world. The role of Elizabeth II as spiritual leader of the cult. Elizabeth II was more than a political and historical figure. For many, she was also the guardian of a spiritual legacy intertwined with the secular power of the British monarchy. Her 70-year reign was marked by stability and continuity, but some believe her strength came from something beyond diplomacy or politics. For occult theorists, Elizabeth was the spiritual leader of the so-called royal blood cult, a position that would have been passed to her along with the crown. From a young age, Elizabeth was groomed for her role as queen, but there are indications that her education included deeper teachings. The coronation, for instance, is not merely a ceremony of political power transfer. The anointing with sacred oil, performed out of sight of cameras during her 1953 coronation, is a ritual steeped in spiritual symbolism. The exact formula of the oil is kept secret, raising suspicions about its true purpose. Some believe it contains mystical elements intended to activate spiritual powers in the new monarch. During her reign, Elizabeth II was often described as calm, serene, and almost unshakable. This public image, for many, was the result of her training in spiritual practices and rituals. There are theories suggesting that the Queen participated in secret ceremonies to maintain her connection with the monarchy's ancestral power. These rituals, conducted in places like St. George's Chapel, were said to reinforce her spiritual strength and protect the royal lineage against external forces. Elizabeth II's longevity is another aspect that draws attention. She maintained an active schedule until her later years, something uncommon for someone her age. While this is often attributed to cutting-edge medical care, theorists believe her vitality could have resulted from occult practices. One of the most popular theories suggests that she received transfusions of young blood as part of secret rejuvenation rituals, a concept that, while controversial, has been explored in modern science. Elizabeth's role as a spiritual leader can also be perceived in her public demeanor during crises. On various occasions, she appeared almost supernaturally calm, as if she had access to knowledge or inner strength that kept her steady. For skeptics, this was simply the result of decades of experience and self-control. For theorists, it was a manifestation of her connection to higher spiritual forces. Even within the royal family, Elizabeth was seen as a central figure. Accounts from former staff suggest that her decisions were respected not only for her political authority, but also for her role as a guardian of spiritual traditions dating back centuries. This respect went beyond admiration. It was an almost religious deference, reinforcing the idea that her role in the monarchy transcended the physical realm. Throughout her life, Elizabeth II maintained an impeccable and reserved image, avoiding discussions about her personal faith or involvement in unconventional practices. This silence on spiritual matters, however, is precisely what fuels theories about her role in the royal blood cult. For theorists, she was the centerpiece of a tradition that blends power, spirituality, and mystery, a figure whose actions may never be fully understood. Mysterious disappearances associated with royalty. Over the decades, the British monarchy has been surrounded by rumors of mysterious disappearances that remain unexplained. Many of these stories are tied to the reign of Elizabeth II, a period during which numerous cases of missing children and young people were recorded in the United Kingdom. Although officially unconnected to royalty, these cases have unsettling details that, for theorists, point to a dark link with the so-called royal blood cult. One of the most famous incidents occurred in 1964 when a group of children from a London orphanage was invited to visit Buckingham Palace. While most of the children returned to the orphanage at the end of the day, 4 of them vanished without a trace. How do you lose children during a visit to Buckingham Palace? It's the kind of story that makes no sense unless, well, conflicting reports from palace staff and event organizers only deepen suspicions. The police quickly closed the case, labeling it as unexplained disappearances, but the details fueled conspiracy theories. Another widely debated case involves the disappearance of a 14-year-old girl named Rebecca Clark in 1971. Rebecca was last seen near Windsor Castle, where the royal family was staying at the time. Witnesses claim to have noticed an official royal vehicle in the area shortly before her disappearance. Although no evidence ever directly connected the royal family to the case, the presence of the official vehicle cast a shadow of doubt over the investigation. During the 1980s and 1990s, a series of disappearances involving children and teenagers in London drew attention. While most of these cases were attributed to rising urban crime at the time, certain details piqued the interest of theorists. Police reports mentioned luxury vehicles near the sites of the disappearances, leading to speculation that members of the elite might have been involved. These reports, although never proven, continue to be examined by independent investigators. The mystery extends beyond individual disappearances. There are also accounts of Buckingham Palace staff vanishing without explanation. A former security guard who worked at the palace for more than 15 years was reportedly dismissed after reporting strange nighttime activities. He disappeared a few months after his dismissal, and his family was never given clear information about his whereabouts. These rare cases reinforce the idea that silence is enforced on anyone who gets too close to the palace's secrets. The absence of concrete answers to these disappearances has left room for theories connecting the cases to rituals of the royal blood cult. For theorists, the victims of these disappearances could have been used in ceremonies meant to reinforce the spiritual power of the royal lineage. While this idea is often dismissed as mere speculation, the patterns observed in the accounts continue to intrigue those seeking answers. Disappearances associated with royalty remain a sensitive topic, seldom discussed publicly. Even without definitive proof, the stories persist, fueling the perception that there is far more to the monarchy than is revealed to the public. Whether coincidence or evidence of something more sinister, these cases remain one of the most disturbing shadows in the history of the royal family. Parabiosis and rejuvenation theories. Modern science has brought fascinating advancements, but has also opened the door to unsettling speculation. One of the most controversial concepts is parabiosis, transfusions of young blood to rejuvenate older organisms. While this practice is still in the experimental stages of medicine, some theorists believe it has been exploited by the global elite, including the British royal family, long before becoming a widely debated scientific topic. Elizabeth II, known for her remarkable longevity and energy even at an advanced age, is often cited as an intriguing example. To many, her health was the result of disciplined routines, unrestricted access to the best medical care, and a life governed by moderation. However, others believe there was more to her vitality, possibly involving occult practices tied to parabiosis. These rumors gained traction when anonymous reports mentioned alleged selective blood donation programs linked to hospitals near Buckingham Palace. These programs were said to collect blood from healthy young donors for transfusions intended for the royal family. According to the accounts, donors were carefully selected based on their health and genetics, and were compensated financially to maintain secrecy. Although never proven, the idea that young blood could be used as an elixir of youth resonates with historical practices. Ancient cultures, such as the Aztecs, believed that blood was a source of vital energy, with rituals reportedly involving its consumption to grant strength and longevity. The connection between parabiosis and the monarchy is bolstered by theories that similar practices were carried out in less scientific ways in the past. Medieval texts reference spiritual transfusion rituals, where the blood of young, pure individuals was offered to kings and queens to strengthen their life force. While these rituals differ from modern transfusions, they reflect the same basic idea, that blood carries regenerative properties that can benefit the recipient. Modern science partially validates these beliefs. Studies on mice have shown that young blood can reverse certain effects of aging in older organisms. Nevertheless, applying this technique to humans remains in the realm of experimental and ethical debate, which only heightens suspicions that the global elite, including the monarchy, might be using undisclosed methods to explore this potential. For theorists, the possibility that Elizabeth II benefited from such practices is not only plausible but likely. Other rumors point to the use of mystical substances tied to ancient rituals. Certain herbs, combined with young blood, were said to possess properties that enhance longevity and reinforce spiritual connections. Some believe these mixtures were used in secret ceremonies at places like St. George's Chapel, boosting Elizabeth II's vitality and securing her longevity as the guardian of the monarchy's spiritual legacy. While conventional science dismisses these theories as fantastical, the lack of transparency about the royal family's medical and spiritual practices leaves room for speculation. Elizabeth II's vitality, coupled with the aura of mystery surrounding her private life, continues to intrigue theorists. If parabiosis did play a role in her longevity, it not only challenges medical ethics, but also strengthens the belief that the British monarchy harbors secrets the public will never know. The legacy of the cult after Elizabeth II's death. Elizabeth II's death in 2022 marked the end of an era, but for theorists, it also symbolized the transfer of an occult legacy. Her reign was not only a political milestone, but also, allegedly, a period of spiritual preservation for the monarchy. The question surrounding her succession is, does the royal blood cult continue within her lineage? If the theories hold true, her death did not end the tradition, but merely passed it on to the next guardian. King Charles III, who ascended to the throne following his mother's death, is already seen by many as a potential heir to Elizabeth II's spiritual role. Although Charles has often been portrayed as less charismatic and influential than his mother, his involvement with spiritual and ecological movements raises suspicions that he might be connected to less conventional practices. His declared interest in sustainability and spirituality is interpreted by some as evidence of a link to the mystical side of the monarchy. The transition of power in the British monarchy is accompanied by both public and private rituals. Public rituals are visible to everyone, but what happens behind closed doors? This is where theories gain momentum and the mystery deepens. While the public witnesses the coronation and other official events, rumors suggest that secret ceremonies also occur, designed to strengthen the spiritual connection of the new monarch with the royal family's hidden secrets. These rituals allegedly involve the symbolic transfer of power, where ancient pacts are reaffirmed, and the new sovereign assumes their role as the guardian of the monarchy's occult traditions. During Elizabeth II's funeral, some keen observers noticed symbolic elements that might indicate the continuity of the royal blood cult. The placement of the imperial crown on the coffin, floral arrangements in specific patterns, and even the rhythm of the ceremonies have been analyzed by theorists as potential signs of this spiritual transfer. These details might seem irrelevant to many, but for those studying the monarchy's symbolism, they suggest something larger. Beyond Charles, Prince William, as the direct heir to the throne, plays a crucial role in the cult's future. William, often described as serious and reserved, is seen as the next key figure in preserving the monarchy's spiritual legacy. His training and preparation are said to extend beyond the political sphere, with some believing he is already being instructed in practices that ensure the continuity of the royal family's mystical traditions. The British monarchy, as an institution, continually reinvents itself to survive. This instinct for adaptation, combined with the preservation of ancestral rituals and secrets, is believed to be the key to its longevity. The royal blood cult, according to theorists, is part of this system. Despite modern changes, it remains a hidden pillar sustaining the monarchy's spiritual power. Elizabeth II's legacy, therefore, is not only political or historical, but also deeply rooted in practices that transcend the physical realm. With Charles III on the throne and William awaiting his turn, the cult's continuity seems assured, at least for those who believe in this narrative. The monarchy, with its rituals and mysteries, continues to fascinate and intrigue, leaving many questions unanswered. Secret documents. Shortly after Elizabeth II's death, reports surfaced of unusual activity within Buckingham Palace. According to unconfirmed sources, documents classified as ultra-secret were removed from the premises in complete secrecy. These operations, carried out under the direct supervision of high-ranking officials, sparked speculation among theorists that these documents contained compromising information about the monarchy's secrets, possibly related to the royal blood cult. These files, allegedly stored in high-security vaults, are said to have been accessed by only a select group of individuals, including the new monarch, Charles III. I don't know about you, but whenever I hear ultra-secret files, I wonder, what do they know that we're not allowed to? The answer must be chilling. The urgency to secure these documents immediately after Elizabeth II's death fueled speculations. For many, it suggested that the content of the papers was not only sensitive, but vital to maintaining historical secrets that underpin the monarchy's stability. Among the most discussed theories is that the documents included detailed records of rituals performed by the royal family over centuries. These rituals, described by some apocryphal sources as spiritual pacts, are thought to have been documented as part of an effort to preserve knowledge and ensure future generations understand their importance. Rumors also suggest that these papers contained instructions on how to perform ceremonies designed to protect the royal lineage. Another intriguing aspect is the possible existence of written contracts binding the monarchy to secret orders or pacts with supernatural entities. Although this idea seems drawn from fiction, accounts of agreements between kings and mystical forces are not new in history. The Blood Guardians, a secret order mentioned in ancient texts, are rumored to have documented their interactions with the royal family, perpetuating the connection between the Windsors and occult forces. The connection between these documents and the monarchy's history extends beyond conspiracy theories. During Elizabeth II's reign, attempts were made to access the royal archives for academic purposes, but access was denied on the grounds that certain records are the personal property of the royal family. This secrecy reinforces the notion that there is information the public will never know, creating an aura of mystery around what is truly hidden in Buckingham's vaults. Additionally, former palace staff have claimed that certain areas of the royal archives were restricted even to authorized historians. These areas, protected by advanced security systems, were reportedly reserved for the most sensitive documents. Reports of guards and vehicle movements during the early hours following the Queen's death suggest that these papers may have been moved to an even more secure location, far from prying eyes. The existence of these secret documents, regardless of their content, symbolizes the hidden side of the British monarchy. While the public sees a transparent and modern institution, there are signs that a much darker and more complex story remains concealed. These files are a reminder that behind the pomp and circumstance, there may be secrets that will never be revealed, safeguarded by Buckingham Palace's thick walls. Monarchies and secret societies. The British monarchy is not the only royal institution shrouded in mystery and rumors of occult practices. Throughout history, other royal families around the world have also been associated with conspiracy theories suggesting the existence of a global network of monarchies connected by secret societies. These groups, allegedly dedicated to preserving power and lineage, are said to be linked by spiritual pacts and ritualistic practices that transcend cultures and borders. One of the most well-known examples is the Romanovs, Russia's last imperial family. Before their downfall, the Romanovs were the subject of rumors about their connection to mysticism, particularly due to the influence of Rasputin, the family's controversial spiritual advisor. Reports suggest Rasputin participated in rituals with the Romanovs to ensure their spiritual protection and the strengthening of their lineage. However, the tragedy that befell them is seen by some as the result of a broken or failed spiritual pact. In Austria, the Habsburg dynasty, one of Europe's most influential families, was also linked to secret societies. This family is rumored to have ties with esoteric orders such as the Illuminati and the Rosicrucians, which allegedly conducted occult ceremonies to secure power and prosperity for their members. These rituals, performed in secluded castles, reinforce the idea that the connection between royalty and the occult is not limited to the United Kingdom. The Saudi monarchy, despite its different cultural tradition, is also frequently associated with secret spiritual practices. Rumors suggest that rituals based on ancient Arabian beliefs are performed by the royal family to secure their position of power. These practices allegedly include symbolic sacrifices and the use of sacred objects to channel energy and divine protection. Though scarcely documented, these stories reflect the enduring idea that royal power is more than a political construct. When examining these global connections, it becomes evident that monarchies share a pattern of involvement with the spiritual and esoteric. This pattern is reinforced by common symbols found in coats of arms, ceremonies, and artifacts. Theorists believe these similarities are not coincidences, but evidence of a global network connecting monarchies through spiritual pacts and occult rituals. The idea of a global network is further supported by historical alliances between royal families. Marriages between European dynasties, for instance, were not merely political agreements, but also ways to share spiritual traditions and preserve common practices. This suggests that the royal blood cult, if it exists, might be just one piece of a larger puzzle involving royal families worldwide. The possibility that these connections are real challenges the way we understand the power and influence of monarchies. If they truly share an occult bond, it implies that their secrets extend far beyond politics and history, entering a realm of mystery that remains out of public reach. These theories, while controversial, continue to captivate those who seek to uncover the deepest secrets of global royalty. This story is just one piece, and one day, you might see the whole puzzle. If this made you think, subscribe and like the video. It helps the channel grow. Don't forget to share. After all, more voices mean more discoveries. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this mystery captivated you. But I bet you haven't seen everything yet. Click on the next videos now to continue your journey into the unknown. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe so you don't miss the next secrets I'm about to reveal. But be careful, once you step inside, there's no turning back.